Good day one. There's always great energy the first day of practice, right? But there's a lot to clean up. So we want to go attack technique. It's good to see some young guys out there picking it up. These walkthroughs that we've been able to have leading up to spring ball really gives us that opportunity to take a step forward and get ahead. We'll have meetings following practice and able to attack some of that as well with our players too. But with that said, we can open it up for questions.
You guys practicing with the in-helmet communication yet?
Yeah, we were sent a couple by the office. We're using them and moving around player to player on certain days.
On defense, anyone besides Jeff who's going to be one of those green dots?
We're going to train everybody to be able to use those, primarily in the linebacker room.
What's the benefit of doing these 2 practices and then having a couple weeks off and coming back?
I don't know if there's a lot of huge benefit because there's going to be a little bit of a period there that puts us behind, but there's going to be some guys that are able to join us here post that first term that will give us a chance to get those guys involved. That certainly it lengthens that spring window, so you get a little bit more time in between to study what you've done well and what you can improve on.
How did you feel the day went with 3 dozen or so newcomers out there?
Yeah, I thought there was good and there was bad, right? The biggest thing, you saw energy and you saw guys moving from drill to drill with a purpose. There was mistakes made, which there's going to be. It's about fixing those.
Has Ope moved to the student assistant role that Suave was doing, or?
He's moved to a student assistant role.
How do you measure success from day 1 going into day 2? What are you looking most on Saturday to see from this team as far as growth goes?
Well, I think effort and technique, right? Really, and then are you making the same mistakes you made day 1, right? We got to eliminate those as we go forward. But it's just about constant improvement, constant growth. Can't eat an elephant in one bite, right? It takes one day at a time, a little bit better each day.
Good to see Noah out there. Is he basically back to being Noah Whittington?
We've got some, we're being conscientious of where he's at. They're doing a really good job in the treatment program. He's way ahead of schedule. Has done a really good job there, but we'll be conscientious through that with spring.
You expecting Jaleel to do anything this spring? Or?
Really same thing, right? Like we're going to be able to have these guys do what they can do, but be smart in the same process.
First, we're talking to you after the promotions and movements on the staff. Just what went into the various decisions, promoting everybody from within, moving Hampton to handle the whole DB's room, Brian up to inside backers. Just what was the thoughts of how you filled your staff?
Yeah, we got a lot of really good coaches within this staff, and it's about growing guys within the staff and giving them opportunities when they've proven they deserve it, right? And whether it's Ham taking a bigger role there in the secondary or Rashad Wadoud stepping up to do more with the corners. Brian's been a guy that proved his value here last season. It was a guy that we want to get involved more as well. So, in our organization, it's about continuity. It's about growing within. Building guys that can fill those roles and do a good job.
You still have a couple of spots, either in strength and conditioning or recruiting, you're looking to fill, or are you done at this point?
We're always looking for how we can improve our program and what ways we can add elements to our program to make us better. But that doesn't necessarily mean we have positions we're still filling.
What about Brian in particular? Do you think made him a good fit for the inside linebacker spot?
Yeah, I've just known Brian for a really long time. I worked with him at Memphis. I worked with him at Arizona State. Worked with him at Georgia. So he's a guy that I have a lot of familiarity with. And his knowledge of the game, his understanding how we want to be able to accomplish things here. At the University of Oregon was a big help last year in his role that he did last year. So looking for him to take a step forward in what he does this year.
Jay Harris brings kind of a new element to that backfield just because of his size. What have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, it's hard right now, and we're wearing spiders and helmets, so I think that's going to show up more when we get into those thud tempos. But obviously, he is a big back, and that's going to be an element that we want to take advantage of when we get out there with pads.
How did you find a D2 running back? What was the process of identifying him and then recruiting him?
Well, just keeping your ears and eyes open, right? He's from a state that I'm familiar with, Missouri, and had some connections back in St. Louis of guys that we knew, and then really able to put the pieces together and let him know that we felt like he fit a need for us and we could help him.
You knew the interior defensive line would go from being the most experienced and oldest group in the country to a youth movement. What are you hoping to see from a lot of young guys here this spring at those positions?
Yeah, see them grow up fast, right? I always say if you're good enough, you're old enough. We want to see these guys be able to attack it, and not have a plan to wait, but have a plan to go play.
But in the secondary where you add several guys, probably a few more on the way, what are you hoping to see from a group that's just reloading a lot of new faces, a lot of new personnel?
Yeah, you don't want to take a step backwards. You want to take a step forward. So, we're not looking to plateau or dip. We're looking to continue to elevate, and that starts with great technique and communication. Those guys understanding what we're trying to accomplish. And we got a lot of guys out here. This is really the first spring that I felt like we could truly 2-spot practice and have enough bodies that we can work multiple fields, multiple drills at the same time and take advantage of it.
Evan, Jabbar, and Brandon are committed as transfer players, but not here. Are you expecting them to be here in April?
When I'm able to talk about players that are here, I'll be able to talk about all those guys that are here. And certainly there's going to be some guys that will be joining us that we can visit about when they get here.
How about some of the signees like Dylan, iffy? Are those guys expected
Yeah,
after
same
break?
thing. They're in. We'll get them here as soon as we get them here, and you guys will see them when they're here. But we're getting those guys transition ready to roll.
I don't think we've had a chance to ask you about Shamari Caldwell yet. What did you guys see from him on tape, and then what makes him a good fit for this system?
Yeah, I mean, explosive power and speed, really, for his size. You know, he's a dominant guy that ends up in the backfield a lot of times, which is going to create havoc for the opposing team. So excited to see what he brings. He's done a good job hopping in. He's learned a lot. We're asking him to do more than he did before, and that's been a good transition for him.
Have
With
you
the
seen?
changing conference and everything, how has that sort of changed your spring training plan, if at all? Is there any different emphasis this year going into the first year in the Big Ten?
No, it really doesn't change our approach. You know, right now it's about Oregon getting better, right? And the things that we think are winning football are the things that we're going to work on. That doesn't really matter what conference we're in.
We haven't talked about Dylan or Dante yet. How have you kind of seen them just take over this new role and kind of fill some pretty big shoes on Bo's way out?
Yeah, they've jumped in the water, right? All in. They didn't dip their toe in. So these guys are picking it up quick. Again, these walkthroughs and meetings have been something that have given them an advantage to be able to pick it up. A lot of growth from today that we got to see moving forward, but excited about the way those guys work.
Several policy things have changed since last we spoke. So early signing day moving up to early December. Is that, you like that date? Would you have liked it even earlier? Stay at the same?
You know, I just adapt to whatever the rules become. You know, I think there's benefits to rule changes, and I think that there's also consequences that come with rule changes. You know, there's a great chance that the team's preparing for a conference championship and they're signing players at the same time. You know, we'll see how it all plays out, but we'll certainly adapt to it well.
So they're discussing changing the playoff that hasn't even begun yet. Your thoughts on 14 teams and how many auto bids?
Yeah, I'm worried about what's next for